If God is beyond all forms, how can he appear in something as limited as you and me? This question sits at the heart of Rumi's metaphysical psychology. For him, the human being is not merely a seeker of the divine, but the instrument through which the divine perceives itself. Yet that statement immediately raises a deeper paradox. If God's reflection appears within human consciousness, who is truly looking you, or the one looking through you? Most people imagine spirituality as an ascent, an attempt to reach toward a distant deity somewhere beyond. Rumi turns this idea upside down. The divine is not far away, he says. It is already looking through you. What you call seeking God is actually God seeking to know himself through the clarity or distortion of your awareness. We will unpack this ancient mystery rationally and systematically. We'll examine Rumi's concept of the mirror of the heart, the mechanisms that distort it, and the process that restores its clarity. We'll also draw parallels with modern neuroscience and cognitive science, which echo Rumi's vision that awareness itself is the ultimate reflective field of reality. We live in an age of endless reflection, glass screens, digital profiles, surveillance, feedback loops. Yet rarely do we encounter a clear reflection of truth. The more connected we are, the more distorted our perception becomes. Cognitive science confirms that. Perception is not passive reception, but active construction. Neuroscientist Anil Seth describes consciousness as a controlled hallucination, constantly predicting what reality should look like and adjusting only when errors arise. We don't see reality as it is. We see it as our brain expects it to be. Add to this our emotional biases, cultural conditioning, and psychological defense mechanisms, and the mirror of awareness becomes fogged. We perceive through layers of projection. Trauma filters our vision. Ego amplifies threat and validation. As a result, what we perceive is not the light itself, but a distorted reflection of it, a self-image that we mistake for reality. Rumi diagnosed the same condition centuries ago. The problem, he says, is not that God hides, but that perception itself has become opaque. The mirror remains, but it is covered with dust, the dust of self-centered perception, or what he calls nafs, the egoic self. This diagnosis is not poetic but clinical. Rumi treats perception as both the illness and the cure. The disease is distorted seeing. The cure is purification of sight. Born in the 13th century, Jalaluddin Rumi was a jurist, theologian and mystic, a philosopher of consciousness long before the term existed. His Masnavi is often described as the Quran in Persian, not because it imitates scripture, but because it translates metaphysical principles into psychological language. For Rumi, divinity is not hidden in the cosmos. It is hidden by the mind's misperception of the cosmos. The heart, when purified, becomes a perfectly reflective surface in which divine reality is directly apprehended. He writes, "Do not seek love outside yourself. You are the mirror that reflects the divine." In modern terms, this mirror represents the structure of awareness itself, the interface where the absolute meets human consciousness. In Sufi thought, the heart is not primarily emotional. It is perceptual, a subtle organ of knowing. The divine, Rumi says, appears in the heart as an image appears in a mirror. The clearer the surface, the truer the reflection. This idea aligns with modern neuroscience. Stanislas Dehaen's global workspace theory describes consciousness as a dynamic space where information from multiple systems is integrated and made globally available, essentially a reflective field. The brain, like a mirror, doesn't create light, but reveals it when clear of interference. Mindfulness research shows that awareness can be trained to observe its own processes. When thoughts, desires, and emotional reactivity dominate, self-awareness collapses, and the mirror becomes clouded with noise. Imagine trying to see your reflection in turbulent water. The light is there, but the distortion comes from movement. Similarly, consciousness reveals truth only when still enough to receive it. For Rumi, ego is not evil. It is opacity, the interference between light and perception. The mirror of the heart must be polished, he writes. How else can you behold the image of God? Modern psychology describes this same opacity in cognitive terms. Confirmation bias and attentional bias cause us to see what we expect to see, reinforcing our narratives. Neuroscience identifies the brain's default mode network, the circuitry active when we're engaged in self-referential thought, as a major source of mental noise. Excessive activation correlates with rumination, anxiety, and depression. From Rumi's view, this is the nafs in action, the mind trapped within its own echo chamber, mistaking its projections for reality. The more we identify with these inner narratives, the less transparent the mirror becomes. Purification is not self-negation but self-clarification, the gradual reduction of distortion until perception becomes clear, enough for truth to appear unobstructed. The process of purification, Rumi insists, is achieved through the discipline of attention. If you are irritated by every rub, he writes, how will your mirror be polished? Each moment of irritation, friction, or discomfort presents an opportunity for refinement. In psychological terms, this is emotional regulation, the capacity to remain aware during internal disturbance. Neuroscientific research supports this process. Studies show that mindfulness meditation reduces activity in the default mode network, leading to greater clarity and presence. Emotional awareness, when sustained without avoidance, literally cleans the neural pathways of reactivity. Every emotional disturbance, anger, jealousy, fear, is like a hand pressing a cloth to the mirror. Resistance deepens the stain. Conscious observation removes it. Imagine a conversation where someone criticizes you. The ego immediately reacts to protect itself. But if awareness observes without defense, the reaction dissolves, clarity returns, and the event becomes a moment of purification rather than pain at the highest stage. The metaphor of the mirror leads to non-duality. When the heart is clear, there is no longer you seeing God. The distinction collapses. It is the divine seeing itself through you. RUMI puts it simply, I looked for God and found only myself. I looked for myself and found only God. This principle reflects the Sufi doctrine of the unity of being. It does not mean the self is God, but that reality is a seamless whole. And what we call self is one of its transient reflections. Modern philosophy of perception arrives at a similar insight. Maurice Merleau-Ponty observed that perception and perceiver, there is no observer separate from what is observed. In cognitive science, the self is described as an emergent model, a functional narrative the brain constructs for orientation, not a substance with independent existence. Rumi's mirror is a profound ontology of consciousness. Awareness is the field in which the divine contemplates itself. When Rumi says that God appears in the mirror of the heart, he is not promoting the idea that you are God. Instead, he is describing transparency, the state where awareness ceases to obstruct what it reflects. The clearer the awareness, the less it asserts itself as separate. In this transparency, the reflection becomes indistinguishable from the light that produces it. Modern discourse often mistakes this for self-deification, the claim that divinity resides in you. Rumi's insight is subtler. Divinity appears through you. The mirror doesn't possess the light. It reveals it by being empty of itself. The mirror is both existent and non-existent. It exists to reveal, but its purpose is fulfilled only when it becomes invisible. Predictive processing models of the brain show that perception filters the infinite data of reality through learned expectations. Mystical insight, in contrast, implies transcending the filter entirely, perceiving without interference. Rumi's teaching is not abstract metaphysics. It's a framework for living with clarity, observation, practice. Begin by noticing the lens through which you perceive others. Are you seeing through fear, pride, or curiosity? Awareness of the filter already loosens its hold. Emotional integration. When difficult emotions arise, treat them as polish, not problems. Suffering is not a flaw, but a tool for refinement. Mindful awareness. Each daily interaction, driving, working, listening, becomes a chance to practice clear seeing. Every relationship mirrors the state of your inner perception. Scientific research supports this model. Studies show that self-reflective awareness enhances empathy and psychological well-being. The neuroscience of mirror neurons demonstrates that perception is inherently relational. Our brains simulate others. Experiences. In a culture dominated by algorithmic identity and self-display, Rumi's insight feels revolutionary. To see without the self, to perceive reality unfiltered by egoic need, may be the highest form of freedom available to modern consciousness. The mirror where God appears is not found in temples, rituals, or distant heavens. It is perception purified of self-centered distortion. Rumi's message is not about finding God somewhere else, but about seeing correctly. You do not discover divinity by adding anything new. You reveal it by removing the distortions that hide it. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. To polish the mirror of your heart is to engage in the highest form of self-knowledge, the kind that dissolves the illusion of separation altogether. The journey is not toward becoming divine, but toward becoming transparent enough that divinity shines through. When that happens, the search ends, not because you have found the beloved, but because the beloved was the one looking all along. Polish the mirror of your heart, Rumi says, until the beloved's face is all that remains.